That was the exact sentence a woman in her late 60s posted on a forum. She said she felt embarrassed, not because she overate junk food, but because even a healthy meal left her tight, distended, and unsure whether something deeper was wrong. And here's the truth. She's not alone. Many seniors eat with the same intention, to nourish, but walk away feeling overfull, bloated, and quietly ashamed. But what if the answer wasn't a new diet, but an old idea from people who live past 100? In Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the world's longest-lived people, there's a simple saying, Hara Hachi Bu. It means, eat until you are 80% full, not stuffed, not stretched, just satisfied, with room to breathe. And the science? Harvard researchers found that it takes 15 to 20 minutes for your brain to register fullness. That delay means by the time you feel full, you may have already eaten 20% too much. And for aging bodies, that extra 20% matters more, because with age, your stomach becomes less elastic. Digestion slows. Bloating arrives faster. And what used to be a light meal now sits heavy, long into the evening. 1. The fuel gauge is delayed. Imagine driving a car where the fuel gauge tells you it's full only 20 minutes after you've already pumped the gas. By then, it's too late. The tank overflows, the engine floods, and the system strains under pressure it didn't see coming. Now, picture this. Your stomach works the same way. By the time your brain tells you you're full, you've often already eaten too much. For most people, that lag is harmless. But for older adults, where digestion slows, elasticity in the stomach decreases, and internal pressure builds faster, that delay becomes a source of discomfort. It shows up not just as a full belly, but as something heavier. A wave of sleepiness right after lunch, then pressure in the chest after dinner. That subtle gasp while trying to breathe deeply. A lingering question, why does eating feel harder than it used to? This doesn't mean your body is broken. It means it's asking for more time, more space, more listening before action. In Okinawa, they don't wait for the full signal. They eat until 80% full, a gentle act of respect for a system that thrives when it's not overwhelmed. Because eating isn't just about fueling the body. It's about leaving room for that fuel to settle, to be absorbed, to serve. So, if you've been feeling too full lately, not in the stomach, but in your energy, breath, or thoughts, maybe it's not the food. Maybe it's the missing pause between hunger and fullness that your body's been waiting for you to notice. 2. The 20-minute meal ritual. In Okinawa, meals are not rushed. They are not background noise. They are rituals. Slow, deliberate, deeply respectful. One of the most powerful things they do has nothing to do with what they eat, and everything to do with how they eat. It begins with a single decision, to stop before you are full. And that starts with the first bite. Chew slowly, not to count, but to arrive. In Okinawan homes, elders chew each bite 10 to 15 times, not because someone told them to, but because they've learned that digestion starts in the mouth. The slower the chew, the gentler the work for the stomach. Pause halfway, not at the end, at the halfway mark. They set their chopsticks down. Take 3 slow breaths, drink water. And then, without judgment, ask, am I still hungry? Or am I just not done eating? That small pause is where the conversation with the body begins. Use a smaller plate. In Okinawa, most meals are served on 8-inch dishes, not to restrict, but to honor fullness, to let the eye and the stomach agree on what is enough, not excessive. The result? They stop at 80%, and yet they feel complete. Because fullness is not a number. It's a relationship between hunger and peace. This isn't dieting. This isn't control. This is alignment with a body that already knows when it's had just enough, before it swells, before it gets heavy, before it has to whisper and bloat or scream through fatigue. Because when you eat like it's a ritual, your body remembers how to feel safe again. 3. Thermostat or thermometer, your body speaks. But do you hear it before it has to raise its voice? There's a quiet difference between those who age in frustration and those who age with grace. It's not just in what they eat, but how soon they respond. Let me ask you something gently. Are you a thermometer or a thermostat? A thermometer reacts. It tells you the temperature after it has changed. You feel bloated after the meal. You feel foggy after dinner. You say, I should have stopped, but only when it's too late. You're always catching up to the discomfort that's already settled in. But a thermostat, that's different. A thermostat is proactive. It adjusts the heat before things boil. It slows down eating when it senses the first nudge of fullness. It chooses to stop at 80%. Not because of restriction, but because it listens while the body is still whispering. That's what the Okinawan elders do. They don't eat until they're stuffed. They stop at enough. Because enough, over time, adds up to longevity. They trust that the second half of the meal might not be necessary, and that the energy they save might carry them one more year, one more sunrise, one more garden harvest. So today, ask yourself, am I chasing my body's signals, or am I in tune with them early? Aging with peace doesn't require control, it requires rhythm, and the courage to stop before the discomfort begins. Because the wisdom of 100-year-olds is not in what they restrict, but in what they honor before it becomes too much. She was 72, still planting vegetables, still walking to the market, still waking up with light in her body. When asked her secret, she didn't mention supplements, or superfoods, or some miracle morning routine. She simply said, I stop eating before I feel full, then I have energy for the sun. That is Hara Hachi Bu. Not a diet, not a rule, a rhythm, a soft partnership between hunger and respect, between nourishment and stillness. Because eating isn't just about filling space, it's about leaving space for breath, for movement, for clarity. You don't have to measure every gram or fear every meal. You just have to notice the pause before fullness becomes discomfort. And when you do, your body thanks you, not loudly, but quietly, in lighter steps, in deeper sleep, in the absence of the heaviness you used to think was normal. So the next time you eat, don't ask, am I full yet? Ask, am I done enough to keep living well? Because longevity doesn't come from restriction. It comes from respecting the space your body still needs to feel free. Just once this week, don't change what you eat. Change how you finish. Halfway through your next meal, pause. Not because you're full, but because you're curious. Put the fork down. Breathe slowly, in and out. Place one hand over your stomach and gently ask, is my hunger still speaking, or has my habit taken over? You might be surprised by the quiet answer. It doesn't shout, it nudges. And if, by stopping early, you feel even slightly lighter, not just in your belly, but in your energy, your breath, your mood, then maybe that pause was exactly the nourishment you needed most. So we invite you to try, not to succeed, but to notice. Have you ever felt too full, even when the meal was healthy? What helped you feel safe enough to stop? Leave a comment, because someone else might be carrying the same discomfort in silence. And your story could be the reason they feel different by dinner tomorrow.